In the summer of 1939, the world was on the brink of catastrophe. Decades of economic hardship, political instability, and the echoes of the First World War had set the stage for an even greater global conflict. What followed would become the deadliest war in human history, World War II. It began with the rise of totalitarian regimes. In Germany, Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, promised to restore national pride, but his vision was one of aggressive expansion and racial supremacy. In Italy, Benito Mussolini sought to revive the Roman Empire, while Japan, driven by imperial ambition, sought to dominate East Asia. In the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin's purges created a climate of fear, but his desire for power would soon shift focus to a very different battle. By the late 1930s, these totalitarian powers were on the march. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland, triggering a conflict that would engulf the entire world. On September 1st, 1939, Nazi Germany invaded Poland. This was the moment that sparked the fire. Britain and France, bound by treaties to defend Poland, declared war on Germany, and the world was plunged into chaos. The war quickly expanded. Germany invaded Denmark, Norway, France, and the Low Countries. Within weeks, much of Europe was under Nazi occupation. The speed and ferocity of the German Blitzkrieg, lightning war, shocked the world. In 1940, the British faced near defeat. In a dramatic retreat from Dunkirk, over 300,000 British and Allied soldiers were evacuated across the English Channel, an event that would become a symbol of determination and resilience. As Europe burned, the war spread across the globe. Japan's ambitions in Asia led to invasions of China and the Pacific Islands. In 1941, Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union opened up the Eastern Front, the largest military confrontation in history. The brutal Russian winter and the tenacity of Soviet forces turned the tide on the Eastern Front. But it was not without sacrifice. Millions of soldiers and civilians perished in the conflict. In December 1941, the war reached the shores of the United States when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, propelling America into the fight. While the land battles raged, the skies and seas became another front. In the Atlantic, German U-boats hunted Allied convoys, while in the Pacific, the United States took the fight to the Japanese Navy. Battles like Midway, where American forces dealt a crippling blow to the Japanese fleet, turned the tide of the Pacific War. Back home, the war changed the very fabric of society. In the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, civilians were called upon to support the war effort. Factories churned out tanks, airplanes, and ammunition. Women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers, replacing men who had gone off to fight. Cities were bombed, civilians became targets, and the world's major powers shifted to wartime economies. People endured hardships, rationing, displacement, and loss, but they were united by a common goal: victory. But World War II was also a war of unspeakable atrocities. Under Hitler's regime, the Nazis pursued a policy of genocide, seeking to exterminate the Jewish people, along with Romani, disabled individuals, and others they deemed undesirable. 6 million Jews perished in what became known as the Holocaust. As Allied forces advanced into Europe, they liberated the concentration camps, revealing to the world the horrific scale of the Nazi atrocities. The memory of the Holocaust remains a somber reminder of the depths of human cruelty. On June 6, 1944, the Allies launched the largest amphibious invasion in history, D-Day. Over 156,000 American, British, and Canadian forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, beginning the liberation of Western Europe. The Allied forces pushed through France, Belgium, and into Germany, while Soviet troops fought their way from the east. By May 1945, Berlin had fallen, and Germany surrendered unconditionally. The war in the Pacific dragged on, with fierce island-hopping campaigns across the Pacific Ocean. The Japanese refused to surrender, leading the United States to make a devastating decision. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The devastation was unimaginable. but it led to Japan's surrender and brought an end to World War II. The war was over, but the world had been irrevocably changed. Millions of lives were lost, entire cities were destroyed, and nations were left to rebuild. In the wake of the destruction, the Allies sought to establish a new world order, one that would prevent such a conflict from ever occurring again. The Nuremberg trials held Nazi leaders accountable for their war crimes, while the establishment of the United Nations aimed to foster global cooperation and prevent future wars. The scars of World War II, however, would remain for generations to come. World War II reshaped the world in ways no one could have predicted. It was a war fought on battlefields and in the hearts of every person who lived through it. The lessons learned from its devastation remind us of the cost of conflict and the value of peace.